Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Band of Bros Tours. Today, we're going to be giving you guys the top 15 biggest changes in Verdansk. Let's get right into it. So the number one change is just the change overall to the map, which was a general change in colors to all of the single buildings inside, and the lighting does feel a little bit different. Lighting is a little bit more inside, but also when you look at outside and when you look directly into the sun, everything just seems a little bit more lit with that 1980s retro vibe. As well, if you guys can see on the northeastern side of the map, we've got the big explosion caused by Wraith, and maybe that's going to be what floods Dam. Let's go into the second part. Before we continue into Gore Summit, please do remember to keep your hands inside the vehicle at all times because there may be a bunch of tryhards trying to eat your feed. Alright, Spark, keep your hands inside the vehicle all the time. Here we got spot number 2, Gore Summit. This should be in the back part. This should have been Dam, which was all frozen back in the day, but now we actually do see a little radar over here with a lot of openings in the back, and we got a lot of gondolas here just coming through back and forth in a little town over here. We do still have fire station coming in here, and as you guys can see, we got some action in here of some crazy people just destroying that. Let's go into part number 3. Number 3 is actually going to be Dam itself. So the original Dam wasn't built yet because there was no need for it, and that leads us into this other part number 3, which is the riverside. So there's a lot more grooves inside because it's not frozen anymore, so you can actually get a little bit more cover while you are down there. Let's go to the next part. No, I fucking pressed this part. Alright, sorry about that, visitors. We got attacked by a wild pair of tryhards, so we had to get a new helicopter, but we're back here. Now we're showing off the Verdansk Regional Airport. As I was mentioning before, there are no signs of explosions here anymore. We actually got a couple airplanes or private jets in the runway. Also, the Verdansk Tower has now been remodeled, and as you guys can see, there is actually like giant window frames here in the top. Everything seems to be almost the same. There's still one entrance to get up here, but everything is almost the same. We got a little chest up here, pretty much the same, and I think the parking lot is a little bit different. Also, the top of airport, as you guys can see, it does have the 2 giant window frames. It doesn't have the 2 big explosions on the top. Let's go to the next part. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are entering what was previously known as Quarry. In today's day, we know it as Salt Mine. Now, things are pretty similar here, but as you guys can see, we can now see the remains of the salt mine actually in here. Also, this back part wasn't actually excavated. So in the modern day, it was excavated. We had a big building there in the back, but right now it is something different back there, and you can actually go inside there and check what's up in there. But definitely a little bit different up in here. Salt mine has definitely not been as developed as it was in the 21st century. Let's go into the next spot. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so this was previously known as downtown. Most of it still remains intact, everything's still almost the same, but we can see the broadcast station is just barely being built. We can actually get on that crane and snipe some people from there, but let's get a closer look into what actually changed. This downtown tower actually has different floors in here. We got a couple of sweaties trying to shoot at us, but we'll try to avoid them. They may get a little bit wild over here, but as you guys can see now, there's 1, 2, 3, and that top floor, so there's 4 floors when you come up here. Do be aware, there is a lot more space in here when you are fighting. Let's go to the next spot. So coming in right up in here, we got one of our fellow members in the helicopter just jumping off right here. But Old Verdansk Stadium, this is actually not being rebuilt into the modern day stadium that we know. This is actually being dismantled. So once they dismantle this, then in the future, we'll see that new stadium that we saw at the beginning. So again, this is just everything is basically open. You got a couple of different entrances there and a big open field. You also got a big crane in here, which allows for some sweaty sniping. Let's go into the next spot. Now, one of the biggest new changes, and I mean biggest as in literally, we got the big radar array right here, which is Sniper's Heaven. There is actually a zipline right here that will allow players to come in here and snipe. This thing takes you all throughout this. All that yellow part that you see there actually allows you to snipe. So once you're playing in here, be aware of them sweaty snipers that will position themselves up top here. And look at this, we can even get to the helicopter, jump up here, drop off one of your friends, and it's gonna be some sweaty time up here. Let's go to the next spot. Now, as we're coming in here, let's take a look at the map. So we are right to the left of airport, and usually here in the back we should have just had a bunch of snow, but this was actually an old mine here. Again, probably searching for some minerals and stuff up here, and we got a lot of playground going around here, so do be aware of this location. You can get a couple of sneaky rats hiding in here. Let's go to the next spot. Coming into one of the hottest locations of Verdansk, we got Superstore, which does remain to be almost the same, but in the old Superstore, we actually have windows at the top which allow you to a clearer visual. We won't go inside because we spotted a bunch of lines and a bunch of sweaties in there, but inside, everything has been cleaned up. All the aisles are nice and needy, and you can pick up your favorite groceries and your favorite fruits all in here in the Superstore. Now, going here to the right-hand side, before it was a car dealership, but now actually it is an airplane's maintenance factory, and we got a lot of locations here. Here, before, remember, it used to be the famous titties that a lot of players used to call out, but now, again, we got an airplane in the middle, and we got a bunch of big places here, a bunch of big warehouses to hide, shoot, and this is now one of the most favorite possible loot places to land. Let's go into the next one. Now, this is another one of just the general overhaul changes to the map. One of them that I talked about was there is no more frozen lake, but also there is no more snow. Usually up in here, it was filled with snow all the way up here, so it was basically a huge mountain of snow, and it was a lot easier to spot those little rats, but now there is no more snow in here, and it's really hard to spot those enemies, so always do be aware when you're coming up here. Remember, just take it with precaution, and always make calls when you see an enemy, because those rats will be even sneakier in this location. Let's go to the next spot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to Promenade. We got the little Ferris wheel here with a little bit more color than as it was before. The buildings are brand new as well with different kinds of color. These are still big green, but as you guys can see here, going on here on our right-hand side, one of the apartments is not yet finished, and this opens up to a lot of playground over here. This building just got a lot of locations to loot, hide, shoot, so do be aware of that location. Moving up into here, we've also got nicer greenery. As you remember here, this was all boarded up because of the war, but before the war, we got a couple of pink trees down there in the bottom, nice parks to go ahead and walk your dog, and everything seems to be nice and shiny in this location. Let's go to the next spot. Coming up to one of the OG spots here, we got Boneyard. Boneyard at the simple eye does see, oh my god, take a look at that. We got a pair of wild rats running around in the open. You don't see that very often. Going back to the tour here, it does seem to be almost the same, but as you guys can see here, these houses now actually have a bunch more windows that you can exit and that you can go inside. This is also one of the new buildings added to Boneyard, so just do be aware of Boneyard. There may be a couple of other surprises around this area. Let's go to the last but not least, Farmland. All right, we're coming up onto our final part of the tour, and everything seems to be almost the same, but what's actually a little bit different is in the modern time Farmland, all these buildings were actually old, but now these buildings are just actually being built, so everything in Farmland is new. And here's where you can take a look at the left hand side. This is one of the churches, I believe, and we got a new building right in here, so this is a nice big building in the middle. We've also got this big building right below us here, so middle of Farmland, definitely a little bit of locations, and this is also going to be some a lot of fighting going on around here, so do be aware of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you very much for being on this Band of Bros private tour of the Verdansk Island. The tour has almost come to an end, but now we can go into the refreshing. As you guys can see here, the lake is no longer frozen, so let's everybody go into for a nice refresher right here. This has nice creatures all around, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. We are nice and neat in here. Peace out, everybody.